Bulldog Nation, you are now going to witness, watch, and listen to the best podcast in the league. Get set for a wild ride with From the Hill Podcast, featuring Wayne Cartwright, Damian Green, Tanarius Gooden, David Thomas, Jennifer Murray, and Corey Williams. Don't miss out. Subscribe now to From the Hill Podcast. It's time to turn up the excitement and make some noise.
What's going on, family?
What's up?
Man, we are back and we are here ready to roll, ready to do something great tonight, man. Have some fun. I hope everybody is well. I hope y'all enjoyed. For those that had Martin Luther King Day off yesterday, like I did, Corey, you probably had T. You had it all. Everybody here had it all, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So hopefully everybody enjoyed, a nice long weekend. As I typically do every Martin Luther King Day, I like to watch they have on Turner Classic Movies every single Martin Luther King Day. They'll show some of the old footage of the civil rights movement and some of his classic speeches and stuff like that. And one thing that gets me every time is when they show the letter from a Birmingham jail and he's reading it and all that kind of, it's just, that gets me every time, man. So, it was great to remember MLK yesterday, man. So, and what was also great yesterday was the fact that that team down the road didn't register a victory on us in not one game, but 2 games. So that was really, really cool that we went down there and, the women's game was a little bit tough with the way they were shooting. They shot like, I think it was like 18 or 17 for 63 on the day and pulled it out with just having a rough shooting day. But the men, they had to come back there in the final minute, man, but they got it done. So shout out to them. Shout out to them for getting another victory. So tonight, everybody, as you like to do, or as we always say, everybody make sure that you hit the like button. If you have not subscribed, make sure you subscribe, man. Do that. Also across the bottom of the screen, we've got all of the updates of our winter sports that are in full effect. So you see basketball, they're both headed to, men and women are both headed to Texas. So women will be taking on Prairie View on Thursday. Men will be in Houston to take on Texas Southern on Saturday. Actually, both teams will be there on Saturday. Both games will be on HBCU Go on Saturday. And then the game on Thursday night with the women will be on SWAC TV. And then the game with the men at Prairie View on Monday night will be on SWAC TV. So, that's what we got going on. So, So tonight, we thought that we would just, we know that there's a hot topic right now out here in the space, and the hot topic out in the space that we always talk about this time of year is about transfer portal and name, image, and likeness. And with the transfer portal, obviously everyone is very much aware of all the movement that goes on. It's still going on. I will just for everybody, just kind of show just this briefly so people just understand what it was. So the key rule changes for 2026, and I say for 2026 because you guys know, just like I do, they love to change this stuff every single year, right? So what you see it as right here on your screen, I will tell you, don't get used to it, because there's a good chance that what you see right here, when we get to January next year, is going to change. But for right now, there was one window, and it closed on Friday, and it replaced the old 2-window system where they used to have a transfer portal also in spring. So there's no spring window anymore. So that's why you saw a big flood of all the players moving in and out. There were people who withdrew, and then there were some who went in at the last moment. And then you can see just a little bit of the changes with Grad transfers, they don't have any flexibility anymore. They're in the same window as everybody else. And then also, if a coach leaves, it used to be 30 days that you had. Now you only have 15 days after a coach leaves to enter the portal. And then the postseason extension, you probably saw today, the quarterback of Indiana, his brother Mendoza, he entered the portal yesterday. After the game yesterday, and he's already committed to Georgia Tech, which is crazy. But those players, they've got 5 days to get in the portal and decide where they want to go. So that is what we have, and that is where we're going to start from tonight. Okay. So I will start with Jay the Great, because you look like you are chomping at the bit to jump right on this thing. I want to start with you tonight about the transfer portal, and where I want to go with you on this is you being ingrained in the culture as deep as you have been, obviously with all the trash talk and all of the banter that goes on. You know, a lot of people, they talk about, look at that team. They lost all their players. Ha, ha, ha. Look at them. And then you turn around and you see that they lost all their people too. Start there.
So, yeah, you pretty much just summed it up. I think we have to change how we look at the banter between the transfer portal, because first of all, you don't know why a player is leaving. Hey, a player could be leaving because, they may want to play closer to home. They may get a new bigger NIL offer. And so the fans tend to jump in and say, oh, your program is suffering. No, it's just shifting. Unfortunately, this is the new landscape. So having a lot of players in the portal does not mean that your program is failing. It just means that it's shifting. I think that's a good way to look at that. I will say this though, and this is what I want to talk to the fans. Under no circumstances should y'all be bullying a student. These are kids, for getting in a transfer portal and leaving your program. We want to say that, especially as HBCUs, that we are better and we are home. We love our players. We need to put that in action. Some of the behavior that I have seen recently, where if a player decides to leave or they change their mind, y'all are in their mentions on social media, calling them all kinds of names. That needs to stop. You're an adult. You're grown. These are still students trying to find their way. And so we can't say that, we can't tell these young men to come home to HBCUs and then we act just like everyone else when they get in the portal. You're a hypocrite. So that's just my thoughts on that. Again, while a player is with you, support them. When they decide to leave, wish them well. It's simple. And then a good point by RB. Some of these guys are being told to get in the portal. Yes, some coaching staffs are moving in a different direction. So if you want to be a throw heavy offense, you may encourage some of your running backs to go in the portal. It's just what it is. So that doesn't mean that player is not a good player. It just means that your program is shifting. So again, that's just my word for the fans. Do not bully these children. I know they're young men, but some of these young people are not even adults yet. They're not even legal age. So you look like a clown getting in their mentions, getting in their social media, bullying them because they made a choice for them. That's all.
Yeah, T. Gooden, I want to go to you on this now. Particularly, I know we talk a lot about the portal in terms of, how some guys, you look at their record. They've been at this school, they've been at that school, and now they end up at this school. Kind of talk about that from your perspectives, man.
Again, one of the last things that Jennifer said, she said some of these players are asked to get in the portal, and that's something that we don't think about. We think about everybody's leaving. However, that's not the case for most. I'm not gonna say most because I don't have the data in front of me. That's not the case of some. And to help me out with the name, what's the gentleman that was the quarterback at Auburn that's trying to be on the number 7 school right now.
TJ Finley.
Yeah, TJ Finley. So now that's a little different. We've kind of gotten away from the real deal possibilities of people making it to the NFL. Before the transfer portal, that number is very, very slim. And that number is still very, very slim now. And being on a 7th team just because you can does not show any type of stability that anybody would want to have because you have no longevity. So people have to think about that. Other than right now, you have to think that like, hey, sometimes the game is not just for you. Should People should have dreams, but sometimes actually playing is not for you. And you shouldn't just jump on team to team to team just for the sake of jumping on it. Because if you look at the good college programs, the Alabamas, the Ohio States, the good programs that are consistent, they don't have a lot of players that leave all the time. Those players stay and develop. One of the reasons the players do stay and develop is because the resources that they have, and they can convince them to stay in the stipends that they get as well, because it's not even name, image, and likeness. Like, you still don't know the name or image or likeness of these players. It's pay for play. We just got to call it what it is now. So those good college programs, they stay. You get a few of them that leave, but it's very, very rare that you get an athlete that was so good, that was good at one level and goes to another team for a bigger opportunity, and we remember who he was. So going from team to team to team, I don't think that benefits. I think it hurts your APR, which I think should go away now, since the NIL is a thing and the transfer portal is a heavy thing. But how many degrees do they have at this point? Like, do you have any? Like, you got to think about stuff like that, because clearly the game is not what it is for you because you keep going from team to team to team.
Yeah. Now, I know that the way that the game used to be, and I'll just kind of backtrack for a second. The transfer portal, for those that may wonder or may not be aware, it was created in 2018. And it was created by a woman named Susan Pear. And she created this transfer portal as a way, originally, it was just something that was more of like for database entry purposes. It was like, let's say a player is not, feeling like, hey, I want to make a move. I want to move closer to home, or for some reasons, and we've talked about this just off the side, and this is where I'm gonna bring Corey in here on the back end of this. We've talked a lot about players that enter the portal because sometimes they're just really stuck on the roster behind better players. And, and that's something that people just don't understand. So, Corey, I'll turn to you on that, man. Talk a little bit from that aspect.
Yeah, in today's thing, you got to have film. And so those players that, is talented enough that feels that they should be on the field, you got to have film, whether it's D2, whether it's FCS, whether it's FBS. And so if you're buried on the depth chart on a yearly basis, sometimes those players, they're transferring so they can get on the field and so they can get film. Now those players are taking a risk because at the same time, it's no guarantee where you're going that you're gonna get on the field. So, you hear players talking about betting on myself. And sometimes, it's a gamble because some players have bet on themselves and have done well. However, that's in a small minority. I'm just, when you're thinking about all the players, who actually get a chance to play on in college, that's a small percentage as well. And so when you do bet on yourself, you're taking a huge gamble. One, that you will get on a roster. Second, that you'll actually play to get film. And second, if you get in there and you don't have that luck, you may not have a scholarship there waiting on you to return. It's a lot of players right now who is in that last category that I just mentioned that has jumped in the portal and they're still searching for a home. And unfortunately, a large percentage of those players, they won't be on a roster this upcoming season. So it's a huge gamble. And like I say, it worked out for some, which is a minority, a few. But you're taking a huge gamble. So that's just a tough situation. But like you all said, no fan or anybody should be degrading a player for trying to, if they are searching, whether it's for playing time, film, and let's call it how it is. Some are just searching for more money, and unfortunately, that's where we are in the college sports today. Is either some are looking for more money, and some are looking for to get film. And as a coach, it's tough because you're trying to get the ones who really want to play, not just out for the money, because that's gonna keep you your job. That's gonna win you games. Those players that really want to play and really, is really going, like they say, get it out the mud. Those kind of players, those are the ones that you want.
Yeah, and you know, it's really one thing that that I have to commend the audience and commend just our culture in the HBCU space as a whole. It took a little while for everyone to come around with the way that the wave that the future is going. Well, I won't even necessarily say so much of the future. I'll just say the wave of the present, because a lot of times, like when it first got started in this wave and everybody started moving and transferring, a lot of people were saying, well, they're taking our players. And, I went out and I said a lot to people. I said, hey, we're in the process now where it's a 1-year principle. Basically, you have to look at every single team that you have now as a 1-year deal. And you have a great team. If anybody who's got eligibility left, chances are you're going to lose a big majority of your team. And a lot of times people forget or don't even look at the fact that coaches are recruiting all the time. All the time. Doesn't matter if you lose one player, doesn't matter if you lose 20 players, 100 players. Coaches are recruiting all the time. Now, we've talked a little bit of the hard side of the portal a little bit, but let's look at a little bit of like the good sides of it. Because I will say though, there are a lot of players that enter the portal that maybe they were stuck on a depth chart, maybe they had an injury, maybe they're developing late. But you can find some real diamonds in the rough in that portal. So I'll go to you, T Gooden, on that. Fine, because T Gooden, this is right up your alley, because this is where it sets you up, where you always love to say your famous saying. You already know where I'm going.
If you're good, they will find you.
That's it.
You like it. That's just what it is. And Carson said that last week as well. If you're good, they'll find you. You don't have to go anywhere. Seriously, like you really don't. If you're that good, they find out where you are. But excuse me. And forgive me that I can't remember his name. But what's the gentleman that transferred from Appalachian State that we had a couple years ago? Good defensive guy. He won. What's his name, man?
Number 4.
Yeah, he good, solid defensive guy. He was in the. I think he played in the HBC Legacy Bowl and all that
He
stuff.
did.
Yeah, he played defensive end.
This is what happens when players transfer all the time. You can't keep up with the names no more. Hold on, now I gotta look him up. But yeah, so that was good for us, and I think it was good for him as well, because I think he didn't actually play as much with Appalachian State that he did with us, and he kind of got his name out there, and he did get to put himself in front of some NFL scouts. But you know how that works. It's so many people are so good, man. Like when you think somebody's good, somebody's better than that person. So, but those are the good things of the four. Yeah, Hayes, Zarian Hayes. Thank you.
Yep, Zarin
Yeah,
Hayes.
yeah, with Zarian Hayes. Zarian Hayes was awesome. He was a good guy for Appalachian State. Came in here and balled out for those 2 years. I think he was here. He did his thing, man. So that benefited us real good. And what didn't benefit, what that didn't work well with us is when our two receivers they left. We had those two guys that had went to Bowling Green as well. You know that kind of hurt us.
Tank Dale.
Yeah.
No, that wasn't Tank Dale.
No, I'm
That
saying in
was,
this comment right here,
Oh,
Tank Dale.
Yeah. But he was that was a little different though because he went down.
Yeah.
But you're talking about OJ Howard.
Yeah,
and,
I'm talking Hilaire and Ibrahim. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, with Tank Dale, he had actually went to he transferred to like a JUCO, then transferred to the University of Houston for whatever reason. So but he did play with A&M his first year with Brian Dawkins Jr. Those two were a good tandem that we had that year. But again, man, like I said, if you're good, they'll find you. The transfer portal is what it is. I tell you who I hate it for. I hate it for the high school guys. Because just I think maybe last week, Coach Tremaine Jackson has said that those coaches will lose their jobs these days trying to get a bunch of 18-year-olds. Now, when our former offensive coordinator, Dwayne Taylor, said something similar to that 2-3 years ago, it was a problem. But times change when the times change. But he said that he can't I think and don't quote me because I couldn't find a tweet, but he kind of said that the HBCUs are kind of like junior colleges now. But I mean I don't think it's just HBCUs. I think that's FCS. Those bigger schools come bribe you with money. Like, that's how you get a kid and his parents signed on. Like at that point, some of them, I ain't gonna say all, they don't care about the actual playing on the field. A lot of those coaches, they will tell you to come to their school because in case that main guy gets hurt, they need a backup. They're not planning on playing you. They just want you on the team in case something happens. So you have to consider all that stuff, man. But yeah, that's all I got on it so far.
Hey T and Coach Taylor, he did say, he was one of the first, that was say, hey, come to A&M and we'll get you where you want to go.
Right.
And so, and just like you said, a lot of people, it was people in an uproar, but he was really telling the truth. He just was, just being straight up about it. And so I respect that.
Yeah,
Right,
and it's not just FCS. I mean, you look at I can't even just say FCS. You look at the Power Fours. Some schools like Texas is doing big bank take little bank with other Power Four schools. Mm-hmm. So you can say whatever, but these bigger schools, especially these bigger schools, are deboing other Power Four schools.
Yep.
So it's just the landscape has changed. It just has changed.
Yeah. I'm looking at it. He said HBCU Twitter wasn't ready for that. They sure wasn't. They weren't ready for when he said that.
And I'm gonna say this: I think people was putting extra on it because it was somebody from A&M that said it. I don't know what it is about us that when we say things, it's just woo. People just. But I think people put a little extra fire because it was somebody from A&M that said it.
You heard the saying about what's that? Something about you hit a dog and the holler.
Yes.
And that's all that was because, like you say, in HBCU or whatever, we're always fearful of change. And so player and schools and everybody's protective. They don't want to know who want their players to leave. Who want that, so at the same time, people was in an uproar because they didn't want things to change. but at the end of the day, people can feel, where we were going and where it was headed. And so like I say, they weren't ready for that at that time. And just like things, they weren't ready for that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Coach Man had to put out a whole statement and everything. Now,
Hey, and what's really crazy about the wave of the portal. It's just like I said. It's like you have a really good team, and you know that you're gonna lose some people,
Mhm.
and it's kind of crazy because I was looking at Alabama State, their team from last year, and well, still looking at what the quarterback is going to do, Andrew Body, but the two guys
Isn't school
behind him,
started at this point? Like, don't you got to be in school?
you really have until really signing day to really make a final decision. A lot of kids, or I'm sorry, kids, a lot of guys are going to end up enrolling after when the semester has already began at a lot of places.
Well,
So
it's
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 just
still it's still a deadline for you to enroll though, and so I
yeah,
think that's what T was getting at. I
yeah,
think it's sometime
signing
in
day.
yeah, it's sometime in January what you could have to be enrolled, and so you have to be enrolled in school by a certain period.
Yeah, I'm about to
Yeah,
say that clock is about to end. I remember getting those notifications at A&M as a student, like, hey, you got to register by this date, or you can go ahead and just come on back in the summertime. So
yeah. But where I was going with that is I looked at their team. The two backup quarterbacks, James Hayes going to FAMU. The other guy, Ragland, he's going to shoot, I just saw it. Southeast Missouri State. And then you've got the top receiver, Jalen Jones, got an offer early from Texas Tech. So he getting paid pretty good to go to Texas Tech.
Hmm.
Uh AJ Harrell, another one of their top receivers, he's gone to another school. Uh Kuykendall, one of their running backs, going to Prairie View. Uh
our guy's going to Georgia. Remember,
yeah,
Richardson.
our guy's going to Georgia. But the bottom line is like this. And Jackson State has shown you a lot about their portal activity thus far. Now, it's still early in the process. You're going to see a lot. But good staffs are able to go out there and they work hard and they reload. And that is where you are at right now in the process. Your staff, you got to be able to bring guys in that you can develop quickly. And the biggest problem, it's like goes to what T. Gooden said about what Coach Tremaine Jackson said, is you've got a lot of coaches that are in pressure situations. And you got to think, man, people are under the gun to win. And so you have to really do the process of elimination if you were a head coach. And you
and
knew.
oh, I'm sorry.
I'm just saying, and you knew you need to keep your job. Go ahead, Jen.
But honestly, that's the name of the game across all levels. It's not just college football. We look at the NFL. The NFL that used to give you a little time to get your team together. Now it's win now. It's win now. Um, so that's just pretty much it is. You're gonna have to develop on your own time. If they develop on the off season, all of these programs want you to go, be ready to go day one. Um, practice on your own time. But yeah, they want them ready to go.
And Wayne, just to talk about, like you were saying, as far as about college, as coaches, you got to determine, you know, um, are you going to look at transfers? On our level, you got to look at, okay, if am I going to look at FBS transfers? How many high schools I'm gonna bring in? What about JUCO? And so you really have to be able to identify talent as well, because you have some schools who only get number FBS transfers, but are they good?
Mm-hmm.
you know um and so you have to identify talent as well. Some coaches, they gonna go, if you look at some of the things, based on Indiana and things like that, are you gonna go for older players? Are you gonna go for older players? Because are you gonna go with, okay, grown man versus boys? or are you going to go with FBS? I think on our FCS level now, we were talking about advantages and disadvantages. Some advantages now, you're going to get better high school players than you used to get because the best high school players was getting picked up by the bigger schools. So, but now those bigger schools, they want to put those high school players in some of the lower divisions so they can prove themselves, then so they can cherry pick them.
That's right. Like a kind of like a minor league system in
As
baseball.
exactly. So some of those high school players are gonna be available. Now, do you want all high school players? I don't think you do. That's just me personally. Because you gotta be careful on how you gonna how you selecting those high school players. And some of those JUCO players now, some of them are hungry. And for whatever reason, whether it's grades or whatever. So that so it's gonna be some talented JUCO players, and then you want to get some older players in certain. So it's very critical that really coaches know how to scout talent instead of just trying to offer every FBS transfer that they see hit the portal. Now those coaches are that's just offering number of FBS players just because they hit the portal. Are those players really good?
We did that one year here. You see how that turned out.
You right.
It didn't turn out well at all. It was terrible. But
You
we we
right.
had we had it from Tennessee. We had it from everywhere that had a big name to it, but that didn't pan out on the field at all. Uh, and I was gonna kind of piggyback off what you were saying is the grown men versus the younger men. Uh, the NFL will not let you even get in their league unless you've been graduated high school for 3 whole years. And they do that for a reason. This is not basketball. This is the grown man string is a real theory. It ain't just something that was made up. Like grown man string, old man string, all that stuff is real. So you can't take a 18-year-old and put them against. Now, nothing against Indiana, they won, but that's what they had. They had 24, 25-year-olds playing against 18, 19, 20-year-olds for the most part, and you could see it on the field. Like, because, nobody, no disrespect to Indiana and their fans, but nobody goes to Indiana like that to play football. These guys followed their coach from James Madison that he's had for years, which at that point had 3 or 4 years of experience. Of course, they didn't have 4 and 5 stars because they played at James Madison. You don't get 4 and 5 stars when you play at James Madison. But however, he developed them, and you had the COVID and all that stuff, eligibility wise, and you got a couple of injuries here and there, and those guys are experienced when they get to playing against teams like Miami, Oregon, even Alabama. Nobody never seen Alabama get whooped like that, but they did because there was a gap,
Yeah.
a big gap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
No, I was gonna say you're right. The age and then that continuity. They've been with him and they understand the system. And a lot of programs ain't having players for all that time. So that says a lot. And then also at the same time, you still as coaches, even though it's a business, more so now, you still can't get away from the fact of still caring for your players. And really, you still have to have some type of care and concern and but at the same time, you gotta have that tough love and that business aspect as well. But still, don't let that the care that and the concern that you have for your players.
Real quick, since we're talking about the coaches carrying the portal, different sport, but we're benefiting from Coach Jackson and his players having good game experience with each other by coming to Alabama A&M. That's the good side of the portal. Now, the bad side of it, when we got to replace them jokers next year. You know what I'm saying? That's the good side of they trusted their coach enough to come to Alabama A&M, and you could look at those guys and tell that they know how to play with him. He know how to coach them. We don't know how the season is going to come out, but you could see it coming out, so you can see how well that's working so far.
You're exactly right, and it takes a good coach to just identify what's gonna mesh well, what you think gonna mesh well, and even if you think it may not, depending on. But I think that's where that discipline has to come in. And I think as a coach, in this kind of environment, you have to have somebody who is disciplined. And if you don't, you won't survive in this environment, because it's already these players already getting paid all this money, and you got so many things and so much freedom going on. So if you're not a disciplinarian, I don't think you're gonna survive in this. Everybody knows Signetti for Indiana, he's a disciplinarian. Nick Saban, a disciplinarian. If you are one who just letting players just get away with everything, because hey, if it's about in this era, if it's about, players got, they gotta have all these rights, you're gonna have to be willing. Because hey, you can easily replace players now. They're down and dozen. So you gotta be willing to let one go if they're a bad apple or if they're doing something. I think that's the key. And I think Coach Jackson is gonna be successful regardless, because one thing that I know that he's a disciplinarian.
Right.
He don't care what kind of skills you got. He will put you off the team. And I know that personally. I know that for sure. All coaches are not like that. All coaches, they got a star player. They gonna some players they gonna let them get away with stuff, but it's gonna ruin your team. And I think that's what a struggle is, and that's why you see some teams mesh better than others, because you're gonna have to have that discipline. And that's one thing I think Coach Jackson he gonna be successful, because he's gonna have a disciplined team.
So this is a really good example, and I've kind of talked about this one a little bit about Chennis Berry and South Carolina State. Um, these guys, they won the MEAC the year before last, and they went totally flipped the roster. They had 32 transfers, 12 high school players, and they only had 3 returning starters. They had 1 offense and 2 on defense. And this is one of the biggest things that I say in the transfer portal era that really makes a big difference. You gotta have a really solid culture. You gotta have a really strong philosophy that players can truly come and buy into. And also, Tremaine Jackson, he had said when he did the press conference before the Celebration Bowl, because it was kind of funny, because I asked him the question. I asked him, I said, what was the toughest decision that you made in your first year that didn't involve calling a play? And he said the hardest decision was actually the easiest one. He said we said goodbye to players that did not want to get on board with the vision that we were putting in place here. He said that I came to do things my way. He said we have a plan. We have a certain path on the way our players need to play, the way they need to train, the way they need to prepare, the way they need to be in the classroom, all that kind of stuff. And sometimes when we get down to looking at the statistics that players have when they come through the portal, and you guys see it just like I do. People always love to say, oh, well, what was his stats? And I will say to you, it does not matter what their stats were, where they came from. And I will say that a million times over until my eyes bleed. It does not matter what their stats were when they came to your school. Because when you come in, you are going to be asked to do something in a new system. You're going to be asked to play a different role. You might be asked to be a leader when you never were a leader before. And that's where the rubber meets the road on how you can build a culture in today's environment. Everybody loves to just say, well, let me just go and stop. Let me just go and find, I need some linemen. I need some guys. Anybody can go. Trust me. If you look through that portal, y'all, go on to on3.com or 24/7 Sports. Go through the portal. You can see it. There's thousands of names, man. You can see a 6'6" or a 6'5" guy anywhere, 300 pounds. There's a ton of them. You want a corner? You can find about 600 corners. You want to find a tall receiver? Go find about 400 of them, right? But do they fit what you're trying to do? That's where it is. T, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I would just, and then like, I mean, just be honest, they could be 6'7" and sorry as all get out. They just big,
Mhm.
like you just see a stat and that's it, man. Like it's more than just like we need to go get this player. Why Coach Shade then go get so and so and all this stuff. And as fans, we need to, as fans, alumni, supporters, we need to step back and just think that like we're asking these coaches with all the resources, unlimited resources to predict the future and make perfect decisions. Like why did he pick this guy instead of that one? Coach Jermaine Jackson had a great year, but that don't happen all the time. Like it worked out for him. Like and that's fine just because he had a great year. That don't that doesn't mean in his first year, that doesn't mean that Coach Shade made horrible decisions. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean that sometimes the stars line up better than in other places than they do. And again, I don't know how many transfers that he brought with him to Prairie View, but I'm pretty sure he bought
It
he
was
brought
over
his
70 new players.
yeah, he brought his base, and then they only new to the people at Prairie View. They weren't new to him, for the most part. And then also, with again going back to the portal, we had one of the good things in football that Coach Shea brought. We had Abner. If Abner wouldn't have got hurt, man, like they like he was that's a good tight end. Like
Mhm.
most school, like that's a good guy. So like things happen, man. I'm sure neither coach on our staff, whether it's basketball, football, baseball, will make any excuses or anything. But things do happen, and sometimes they don't work out as we want them to. And one of the most overused terms, but it really matters. You have to trust the process. The thing that is not beneficial to the coaches and the players, and sometimes even up to the administrators, that process it gets shorter because of so much pressure from people like us, and we ain't winning, and so winning, blah 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 blah. Well, everybody's different.
Yeah. So let's kind of switch up now. Let's go to NIL here. Jen, Jen, I'm gonna let you go in. NIL according to Jen's feelings. Get
Well,
it.
I mean, I think it's a place for it. Growing like I grew up watching football, and I remember, especially if you grew up in the state of Alabama, 1992. No, I'm sorry, no, before then, the the Alabama almost getting a death penalty or whatever. So we know how strict the NCAA AA was when it came to players getting benefits. We saw that with um what was that? This was before my time, but SMU got the death penalty and they
Yep.
barely recovered.
Yep.
So we saw that I think with Jim Tressel at Ohio State with the tattoo. Was it Tattoo Gate?
The tattoo parlors. Yeah.
The tattoo parlor. So it happens. I do think players should be compensated. Because again, a lot of them they really can't get jobs. Because they have to dedicate their entire time to this sport. They can't get jobs. Some of them are old enough to have families of their own. So they can't wait. If they got a child, they can't wait on to get to the NFL. That baby need diapers now. So I do think that players should be compensated. Now, with that being said, when we kind of tied it into the transfer program, I do feel, and it's kind of like with anything, with the job or whatever. Like let's say, and I don't think we really see this on the HBC level, but we definitely see this on the Power Four level, where a player would get an NIL deal from one school and then decide to take that money and then transfer to another school. We're seeing that the lawsuit with Duke right now.
Oh
I
yeah.
I do think there should be some. Um, I mean, I don't want to say guardrails because some coaches, especially on that level, do whatever they want to do. But I think like it should be some okay, you'll get this if you do this, and that's the same thing with our jobs. We get paid. We have to go to work. we just can't get the check and just stay at home. So I think I do support I do support the players getting compensation, but just you know, you don't really see it on the HBC level, but with the bigger programs, just if you're gonna get this money from um a program, you may want to stay and play. Now, on the same token, on the flip side, I do also feel like if you're a program, you should be if you're gonna say you're gonna get this player $200, whatever, then you should give them $200. Don't just renege on that if you've already, locked them in to where now they're coming to your school. So I just think that just those type of if we're gonna treat this like a business, actually treat it like a business. Don't do junky business on both sides. So whatever that takes to make sure that everyone gets what they're supposed to get. You may see some more regulation with that, especially with this Duke lawsuit. We'll kind of see where that goes from that. But I do support players getting compensation.
Yeah,
T?
I was gonna add that to what she was saying of more of a because we can go ahead and this is not amateur ball anymore. Like people gotta really take it. It's not get over that. That's not gonna go back to that. So at this point, you gotta just take it as what it is. Treat it like NFL. There's no in the NFL, there's no way a team could have reached out to a coach while he's actively in a season like Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss. That doesn't happen. You can't do that in the NFL without getting fined and losing draft picks. You can't contact a player, not even via agent, in the season if he's under contract unless the team gives you permission to. Like, so all that stuff has to be adopted, man, because if you don't, it's like the wild, wild west. Like it's gonna continue and continue to happen. I can imagine now how many at the end of a game, good game, everybody hugging, blah, blah, blah. I know players like, hey, my coach said he want to holler at you, blah, 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 blah. You know that stuff going on, man.
Yep.
Like you'll be a fool to think it's not. Like everybody got them a guy like, hey, I need you to make sure you get him on the side and all that stuff. Like it has to be some regulation, or you're gonna keep it, or it's just gonna get too far out of control. And like I said, my only concern is you got these younger players, and it's not affecting basketball like it's affecting football right now. But you got these younger high school hoopers, man, or football players that like would never get the opportunity to play because like you just coaches don't want to lose their jobs, which I don't blame them. So like I can't get this guy. I'll let me in 2 years when you turn 20. In the meantime, go play for Drake State. You know what I'm saying? Like just stuff like that, man. That's what's happening to them because we got some guys that go be in there till they're 25, 26 years old, and that's fine. But you just can't keep doing that, or it's gonna tarnish the game in the long run. Gotta have some regularity.
Yeah.
Gotta have some regulation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like a business.
It's
Like
super crazy that you have guys that are filing lawsuits to get an additional year of eligibility.
But can you blame them? But see, okay, so this is my thought
Yeah,
process.
it's a cush job. I will. All you do is stay in shape.
Yeah.
That's all I gotta do.
But
Because listen, it's different on the NFL level. Like you better. Do you want to make a Let's just be real. Do you want to make a 10 million in college, or do you want to make 10 million in the NFL? The reason why I say that is because people get on the internet and say, oh, like case in point, Indiana. Indiana is the biggest, the best team this year in college football. Then some people are like, oh, Indiana can take on the sorriest NFL team. No, they can't.
No.
Yeah,
No.
no,
they can't.
No.
They will get
Listen.
drugged
Up and down the field because it's just different. So I don't blame them for staying because they hit hard in the NFL. We see it; they hit hard. So if I ain't got to get hit that hard and make the same amount of money, I'm gonna stay in college too.
And now, should a player get paid $5 million a year? No, I just don't think in college a player should get paid $5 million a year. That's ridiculous because that's why they stand so long. And just say Trinidad Chambliss for example, he'll be a lottery pick this year, but he still want to stay in college.
He trying to
Yeah,
play some NFL defense.
yeah,
and
and
I
then,
don't.
and then I was talking with my barber last week, and we were thinking like, man, what a time to be alive. You mean to tell me I can make millions of dollars a year, don't pay for the place I gotta live,
Nope.
get a car from the Ford dealership,
Yep.
because I'm standing in front of their place, and why would I want to go to the NFL again?
Exactly.
And then you got and then like cases like Trinidad Chambers is going to go to court, right? It's going to go to court in Mississippi, right?
Mhm.
All the judges in Mississippi, guess what school they graduated from?
Mississippi.
You think they're going to not rule in his favor?
Hell no.
So, like that's just what it is, man. Like I say, if I'm not mad at the college player for trying to push the envelope because it's a cush job. Like it's a gravy job. You get free room and board. You get a car from I said Ford dealer. You get a car from a Mercedes dealer.
No, they get these luxury vehicles.
They don't do Fords no more. They go. They get the Mercedes Benz, and then you mean to tell like, yeah, it's a great job to have if you're a college student, man.
Yeah, I do
Wayne,
have to say, go ahead, Corey.
I want us to talk about NIL and the FCS space, and even HBCU FCS. First of all, because I really don't think that it's sustainable to a certain extent. I do think the cost of living and whatever you paying per month or whatever, and you have to be selective on certain players. But I still think when you're talking about big money for one player, is it worth it? When I say big money, should a FCS school or a HBCU pay $100,000 a year for a player? That's what I'm saying. Okay, because when you're looking at television revenue, okay, them the Big Ten, SEC, they got major revenue. They got major boosters. Is it worth it? Because some of these schools, I'm gonna tell you, some of these schools who done played some of these players 30,000 a year or 50,000 a year, they haven't won a championship.
Right.
They haven't won a championship.
Right. That's where I was going. Mm-hmm.
And so is it worth? I think some players you got to pay them a little more than others. This is the nature of the game. But is it worth it to get in that game of really trying to shove out 100,000 for this player or that? I don't think so, because I don't think the return on your investment is good enough to give a player that kind of money on the FCS or HBCU level. That's just
exactly
me.
Right.
That's just me.
Exactly right.
But because I'm not gonna knock whatever other schools doing. But I know it's some players, even the school down 65, who have gave players, NIL certain money, and they haven't even won a championship. So
the whole team still go to the portal.
Yeah, and they still go to the portal, and then they still bribe you to give them more money so they can come back. So
and that's where I was going too, because I was like thinking, when you talk about the return on investment, obviously from the FBS level, it's like, dude, when we're paying you all this money, we're not paying to go to the Duke's Mayo Bowl. We're not paying for the Pop-Tarts Bowl. You know what I'm saying? In FCS, I will say on our level, I'll just say our level in the SWAC, right? I mean, you see that we're we still have to play money games, to even be able to, a lot of schools to even still be able to balance the budget. Some pay the money games just so they can have a little bit extra to be able to pay some of our players, give them something, some form of a stipend, and I'm cool with that. But the part of where I see it though, and I've said this before, I think that in HBCUdom, we have to be careful on how we go about the money, because the money that we already have is real tight to begin with. And we've got certain things and issues like infrastructure that really, to me, we have more of a need for that. Now, I get it. Everybody wants to win and they want to win games. But in the same regard, to Corey's point, it's like if we paid half the roster, but we still fell short of winning the championship, then what are we paying for? You know, we don't have a return on the investment, and we still be at a deficit. We still, I mean, and you look at the way we travel, right? Now, yeah, fortunately, we get to take planes more now than we did before in HBCU space. But there still are bus trips. You know, there's still like, you know, you still got to try to, you know, piece it together in some places. And every school is not on the same kind of footing. Like I've talked a lot about Mississippi Valley State because Coach Buckley, he's been very transparent about their situations with just something in terms of being able to have strength and conditioning and have resources. And so it's like the resources that you need to be able to have a functional program, that stuff takes money in itself. But if you're taking money that you couldn't be using to improve your infrastructure and you're putting it on players and you're still not winning.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then
like I'm gonna be honest. I think Texas, if I'm not mistaken, if they don't win the national championship this year, with all of the money they paying out,
but see, they got boosters who just can throw away money though. So
yeah, I was gonna get to that, Corey. Like, you know, do we need more money to do these things? Absolutely. One of the questions somebody just put in there, Emmett Jones, he told Edward Moore we have to figure out a way to keep them. And there's a way to keep them, is money. Like that's just what it is.
Yeah.
But and then like without getting too deep into things, you gotta remember most people that attend HBCUs don't come from well-off families. How many oil tycoons that we have that are alumni of Alabama A&M or any team in the SWAC? You know what I'm saying? Don't everybody raise their hand at once. You know, when you got Texas and Texas Tech, they're pushing money in from that, but then they don't have to worry about just let's say the science building getting funded because you got a scientist that donated $1 million to that. You know what I'm saying? You're not just stretching one alumni out to try to fund the whole school. Like these people have advantages that we don't have. Now, can we do a little bit more? Yes, but like the grounding is not level at all. Like we're not on the same foot. Just because we play the same football game, the ground isn't level. So we got to realize that, man. Like we can't do, because just imagine this. There's still people, and not just A&M, there's still people in HBCU world now that the head football coach typically makes a lot of money, right?
Yeah.
Professors at any school, not just A&M, don't make as much as the head football coach. There's people in our spaces have a problem with that. It's people in Alabama that care nothing about that at all. You know what I'm saying? Like there's, because it'll be a problem. So it'll definitely be a problem if, like what Corey just said, we paid the whole roster. You know what I'm saying? We can't just shell out money because it's gonna cause some friction. And is it warranted? Yeah, because that's not the money we should be shelling out like that. And then it's just a whole. It's very systematic. It's more than what one could do, or just say we need to give them more money because it's just not possible right now.
Yeah. And man, these are all really good points, man. And you know, we're gonna definitely revisit this for sure. So hey, appreciate everybody in the comments though, because all of this stuff has been really, really good. And you know, man, we just gonna continue on right here because you know there's this thing called championship weekend, and let me pull the banner down. There's this thing called championship weekend, and you know, last weekend, whoo boy, was some really, really good games. And so we're gonna get it started here. We got 2 games to pick from. We go out here to Empower Field in Mile High in Denver, Colorado. You got the AFC Championship. You got the Denver Broncos taking on the New England Patriots. And it's kind of funny because the last time that Denver was in the AFC Championship, it was in this stadium. They played the New England Patriots and they won the game to advance to Super Bowl 50 there in Santa Clara, where the Super Bowl is going to be in 2 weeks. Now, Bo Nix got hurt. So Jarrett Stidham has to step in and play quarterback. Man, and I don't know, man. Corey, where you going with this?
Hey, you know, in New England, everybody know New England is a franchise because I have friends, I've had people, colleagues who've played for New England, and they're one of the best franchises as far as ran professionally up and down. I've a couple of players that I know, they've said they've been to other teams, but the Patriots, their franchise is just ran so much better than a lot of programs. However, when picking this game, Bo Nix got hurt, and a lot of people expecting, that it's a for sure thing that New England's gonna win. I actually think that giving a quarterback a week, with Jared Stidham a week to prepare for this game, and I think Sean Payton, I actually think that Denver is gonna win this game. I think it's gonna be a close game, but I think they'll do just enough, a good game plan, and Jared Stidham will manage the game. And I think that Denver will win and go to the Super Bowl.
All right. Jen?
Now, before I make my pick, please bump Oscar's comment. Oscar, this is not the truth. Okay.
Oh no. Oh no.
That is not the truth.
No.
At all. But the Cowboys are not ran what is popular. Amen. But with this score, I mean, before Bo Nix got hurt, I was gonna, roll with Denver. I'm gonna be honest, I don't really care about this game because the Texans did not make it. This was Big Bessemer's opportunity to go to the AFC Championship, and it did not happen. So I'm just like, With that being said, I'm gonna go with the Patriots. I just think Bo Nix is going to be too big of a factor to overcome. And even though this is a home game, Patriots, I think they're gonna have the better game for Patriots.
All right, T.
Kind of echoing on what Corey said about the Patriots organization. It's very rare that you take away arguably one of the best quarterbacks of all time and arguably one of the best coaches of all time from a franchise, and they come back this quickly after being removed. That means things ran well up top because you can get things back going really quickly. So Robert Kraft does a great job with that organization and whoever he has under him. I know Auburn fans are cheering for the Broncos because you got Bo Nix, which used to be the Auburn quarterback, and you got Stidham that used to be an Auburn quarterback as well. But I'm going to go with Denver on this game, not because like was said, you got a whole week here for a quarterback to prepare. It's not like Stidham is going in the game and like he knows the game of football too. It's not like you're bringing in an old, no disrespect to Joe Flacco or somebody like that can't play the game. Jarrett Stidham can play the game. Is Bo Nix a better quarterback? Absolutely. But Jarrett Stidham can play the game. He has a week to prepare, and I'm sure the Denver minds are making that work. So I'm going to go with Denver going to the Super Bowl with the victory this weekend.
Yeah, I like I have to say this too. I think one thing that gets forgotten in this whole matchup, Denver's defense led the league in sacks. Like they have a really good defense led by defensive coordinator Vance Joseph. And yeah, that's Mickey Joseph's brother, Grambling head coach. They've been very good. They've been very opportunistic. They've been able to get after the quarterback. Both teams, they got really good defenses. I don't want to also act like Drake May, the quarterback of New England, has been lighting up the world for real like that either. Like Houston was making him do some really, really crazy things, like some turnovers in that game on Sunday as well. I think that Denver is going to find a way to shorten the game with its defense and find a way to get their run game together. And I think to Corey's point, I originally thought that Denver was in the dirt. But something about Sean Payton, man, I think that they're going to get it done with that crowd out there in Denver. And I think they're going to find a way to win a close one and get back to the Super Bowl. All right.
Shout out to
Now we
Sean Payton.
go.
They wrote Sean Payton off. Shout out to Sean Payton, man. I like
Yeah.
Sean Payton.
Now we go to Seattle for the NFC Championship. And this is the third installment of this rivalry this year. Both teams won on their home field. The Rams had a 30-14 fourth quarter lead in the second matchup there in Seattle on a Thursday night, and it got away from them. There was a very controversial call during that game. Everybody who knew it, you saw it. But you look at how LA, they've pulled it together to win 2 road games to get to the NFC Championship. They fought against a game Carolina team in the wild card round. And you saw that great game on Sunday night there in the cold of Chicago. Seattle is riding high, man. 41-6 against the 49ers. Now, I know the 49ers, they were, shorthanded, they're beaten up and all that, but still, they took them boys apart from the opening kickoff, literally. So I don't know, man. We'll see we'll see what you guys got on this one. T Gooden, where you going?
Man, I'm gonna go a little biased here because I know my man got him hyped. I know he got him ready for it, and I want to see him go to the Super Bowl. I'm gonna go with the LA Rams, man. Our alum Chris Venigny, he's a assistant strength and conditioning coach in LA. I want them to win just so he can get there. The decision has nothing to do with football, but I'm going for LA just because he on the team. I think it'll be a close game though.
All right, Jen.
Oh, it's hard to come behind that because we always root for the Bulldogs. But my dad is a diehard Seahawks fan. He has been one since the 70s when he used to live in Washington State. So I don't think I can go against the Seahawks because of that. But no, seriously, they're playing in Seattle. The 12th man in Seattle is real. It is not a joke. It is, and I think they're going to need that. This is going to be a tough game. This is NFC West. That's like a huge rivalry. I really think the Seahawks is going to squeeze it out, and if the Seahawks squeeze it out, I think the Seahawks will win it all.
All right, Corey.
All right, I think the winner of this game is going to win the Super Bowl.
Yep.
Before the playoffs or in the regular season, really LA, the Rams had one of the most talented teams and really was the front runner to win the Super Bowl. However, I think it's a way. I think teams get hot and you play. I think you just can't turn it on and turn it off. But and in saying that, I think Seattle is playing one of the best. They're playing the best going into this championship round in any team, and that 12th man, and I think that home field advantage is really going to benefit them. And I think it's the injuries on the Rams team. It's playing a factor in this. But I'm gonna pick the Seattle Seahawks because of their 12th man, because they're at home. But I wouldn't be surprised if LA win. I got a family friend that plays for him. He's a rookie, Monfield, a 15. Who's a receiver, and from families from Montgomery, and but they the dad and everything they live in Georgia. But I know I would love to see that family for them to go to the Super Bowl because you never know about if you ever make it to the Super Bowl again, let alone win one. So I'll be cheering for number 15, Monfield. But I just got a feeling that the Seattle, that home field, that 12th man, I think it's gonna be a rude awakening for the Rams.
Yeah, it's kind of funny with that stadium sitting quiet here on the screen. I hear it loud, even seeing that stadium sitting there idle and quiet.
Yes.
You know what though, man? The Rams, shout out to them, man. It's just crazy. Sean McVay, man, dude been there 9 years. And he's taking them to 2 Super Bowls. He's won one and lost one. And it's something about that championship pedigree that him and Matt Stafford have, man, on how they just can find ways to keep it together when it doesn't look like they're playing their best. I mean, those receivers, Puka Nakua and man, Devontae Adams, man, them dudes, man, they could play and they got a really good defense. I think this is gonna be a hard-hitting, fully 4-quarter battle. But I gotta go with the Seahawks, man. My question though, good Sam Darnold. If we get a bad Sam Darnold, I don't know, but I just think it's Seattle's time, man. I think they're gonna get it done. So yeah, that's what we got, man. So tonight, it was a lot of fun tonight. Just having a good discussion, and we appreciate everybody who came out to support and came out with their comments and came out with their energy tonight. So one thing that I will say just lastly tonight before we wrap, make sure that you take the time to just read a lot up on name, image, and likeness. And also transfer portal, man. Because a lot of times people, they go out here, they just say a whole bunch of stuff. Now, I know everybody has opinions, but there's also a lot of documentation that's out here that can be read and that can be downloaded that you can educate yourself on it. Because some of you know kids that are up and comers, current college athletes that are playing. And it's certain information that can help everybody. So I'll just say that. So yeah, shout out to everybody tonight for watching. Next week we'll be back with another fabulous show. As we get ready to tick down here towards the end of January already, man, if y'all can believe that. So yeah, shout out to Dave and DT. Appreciate Jen, Jay the Great, Corey Williams, T Gooden. I'm Wild Wayne Cartwright, and we will see you next week. God bless you.